One of the things that's going to change things is overall in communities of color, Black and Brown communities in particular, is conversations, right? Having like these honest human to human connection conversations around one, civic engagement overall, like being aware locally, means citywide, statewide, and federally.
Welcome back to the Q Agenda. Our guests today are from affinity groups within the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. Please welcome Chela Demuir from Flux and Edwin Millan from LOUD.
Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for being here. We'd love to start with a little bit of a background on what your organizations are. So Chela, if you would.
I am Chela Demuir. I'm a trans activist from Los Angeles, and I'm the National Vice President for Flux. Flux aims to raise the profile of transgender and non-conforming community members, and we do that with innovative marketing and advocacy. We have 8 chapters across the country, soon to have an international chapter.
And Edwin, how about your organization?
So my name is Edwin Millan, and I'm the National President for the Latino Outreach and Understanding Division, which is LOUD, Somos LOUD. And our job is to raise the profile of Latinos living in the U.S. And as you guys know, the Latinos are very diverse. So we try to accommodate that versus the city or the region that you guys are in. So for example, if you're from New York, you get more Puerto Ricans and Colombians, and you're in Florida, you get more Puerto Ricans as well, and LA Mexicans. So, basically try to identify ourselves and see ourselves in the cities that we work in.
Well, you guys have so much going on. I mean, and you guys are worldwide, but what initiatives are you working on this election season right here in California?
Well, right now in California, we're doing Proposition 21, which is the Rental Affordable Act, in which our main job is to have a roof over people's head. That's basically it.
So wait. The Rent Affordability Act, that's a big act name. So in what specific ways are we working to limit the increase on how much rent is going up, or like what's the actually in that proposition?
Well, that gives the cities the ability to negotiate and see where their constituents, how much rent will go up. Basically it's rent control, and believe it or not, so many places do not have rent control, so they can increase your rent by 20% if they want to.
Mm-hmm. Chela, if you can please give us a clear picture of particularly how it affects the trans community.
Sure. I can tell you that 1 of 3 trans people are facing disparities as far as housing is concerned. If that gives you a picture.
And are you finding the same thing in the communities that you serve, Edwin?
Absolutely. And just to be more broad, is that most people are renters in the U.S. And as you know, that the income or level or the average income housing is so high, $650,000 for a house, for example, in Hawthorne. I mean, who can pay that much money?
This should be a priority, that at least the minimum is for somebody to have a roof over their heads, particularly in these times right now that there's so much controversy and so much going on we're fighting so many wars at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Absolutely.
And what I feel is that even though it's overwhelming, but it needs to be done. So we have to go and register to vote. That's the power that we have as Latinos, as any minority in the U.S. We have to raise our voice, and how we can do it is by asking people to vote. And also, and for that many Latinos that live in the U.S. is like encourage anyone that has the ability to vote to do it.
Do you guys see the community excited about it? Do you see them motivated? Are they out talking about voting, or do we need to really work hard on that and create awareness? What's the buzz on the street?
From what I have learned in the past couple of weeks is that we haven't even been able to successfully have our community fill out the census. We're still not at 100%. Wow. And that is sad to hear, because that gives money to so many services within the city, within the districts. So we are not there yet. We have to still continue and push and be there and stand strong so we can continue to pass the voice,
Hey, Chela, I just wanted to come to you for a second. You said that a lot of what your organization does is sort of working with the media. Can you talk a little bit more about that part of your organization's work and maybe some things that excite you about that?
Thank you for that. We do actually have built a platform using our social media, and it is one way that we can address the masses. And so that is where we concentrate our messaging. And it is important, like Edwin said, just about encouraging our community to activate. Black trans folks specifically are impacted mostly by this. We have discrimination, and then we have to worry about the cost once we find someone or a space that's safe enough for us to apply. So it really does help us to get the message out, to activate our community, and we use social media to do that.
Are you feeling supported by the other members of the community in terms of like intersectionality and centering voices like trans voices, especially trans people of color? Or are you feeling like we have so much more to go?
Honestly, I can say that we do have a lot further to go. It is important that we address those intersectionalities. I am trans, but that doesn't mean that I can't enjoy my Blackness as well. So it is important that we sort of find a way to activate our community to get out and vote and let their voices be heard.
But I want to know from both of you, what motivated you to get involved with your affinity groups and what inspires you every day to keep on going with the fight? So Edwin, maybe you can tell me a little bit about what moves you towards getting into this fight.
Well, basically seeing my community suffer. That's one of the main things that it motivate me. And when I say my community, I want to be included Latino because I see myself a Latino first, then a gay person, and of course part of the LGBTQ spectrum. So is to help the underdog. And I think what is very important to me is bringing those people and anyone to the same platform, to bring into the table, to make and be the decision makers of their lives. You know, we need to be represented. We need to be the face of who we are, and we need to be out there promoting us and relying on us.
And Chela, there's so many things that we can talk about and issues with the trans community. How do we prioritize? And again, also I want to know from you, what motivates you every day to go into this fight?
What motivates me is I want to leave something behind for our generations to come. It's far too often trans community aren't left with generational wealth. You know, we are brought into a world where struggle is our top and main priority, surviving, trying to live beyond the age of 35. So for me, it's about legacy. We want to be able to be the generation that finally leaves something behind so that our next generations have a boost, they have a lift.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Edwin and Chela. And now we want to join Juliana and from Flux, Her Majesty Queen Victoria. Take it away, ladies.
Hello, Queen Victoria. How are you?
Hi, Juliana. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much again for joining us at the Q Agenda. I'm so happy you're here again with us. For those who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, can you just give an intro about yourself and your role with AHF?
Awesome. So I'm Queen Victoria Ortega, and my role with AIDS Healthcare Foundation is to lead a division, an affinity group, really, that is named Flux, that focuses on raising the profile of trans and gender nonconforming community through creating safe spaces, innovative advocacy, and events.
I love that's your mission. And what are you guys focusing on at the moment with the current climate of everything?
So we do have an advocacy focus that kind of guides us every year. So all the trans leaders from all our chapters across the country prioritize. So our prioritization includes trans youth, Black and Brown unity, and the third is civic engagement through voter registration. And that's kind of what we've been focusing on. Obviously, everybody knows the election's coming up for the presidential election. It's a really important year. It's a very interesting year, to say the least. So we're definitely working on that now, which extends to national measures as well as like local, statewide measures as well.
Absolutely. And, you mentioned voter registration. How is that? I'm curious as to how that's been going for you guys, that initiative of your organization, just because I know how important it is, that we get our Latinx community and our African American community out to vote. And I know that a lot of our community is also they kind of feel like their voice won't matter, or that their vote won't be counted. So can you just speak a bit more about that part of your initiative, how that's been going for you, and what you hope to see with that?
That part of the initiative, we collaborate with organizations who are doing voter registration work. We just had an event in Orange County, which is quite conservative in Southern California, doing voter registration, and then we collaborate with organizations that are already doing voter registration. But one of the things that's going to change things is overall in communities of color, Black and Brown communities in particular, is conversations, right? Having like these honest human to human connection conversations around one, civic engagement overall, like being aware locally, meaning citywide, statewide, and federally about like what's going on and how your impact can be utilized, how your voice can be utilized through casting a vote. The honesty of it being scary. Especially for document alignment, our IDs, how we present. The other thing we were suggesting too is like people not being alone in the process and leveraging our cisgender allies to make sure that we feel safe around the process. And it also it's hard when you've never done it. Like when you've never voted, it's hard for you to think about yourself and envision yourself being able to be there. And it boils down to worth, right? It's imbuing our community with the self-worth of knowing you are worth the investment, you are worth the voice and the effort, and making sure that you have belief in yourself to get up and vote and make your voice count. There's a campaign out there, we use it all the time, jokingly, we tell our Latinx brothers and sisters, vota jota. It's important that you get out there.
I love that. I've never heard that. I need to use that.
That's our thing. Like we start telling people, but it's important. It's more than ever as we continue to grow as an emerging population that's flexing our political power and economic power to have our voice heard.
Absolutely. And you touched on the how one of the important things is just communication and having these conversations within our community. Can you touch on the importance of our community, the Latinx community, how important it is for us to support our Black community and vice versa, and us like banding together in order to do what's needed for both of our communities, and how much we actually impact each other, and how important that is, especially now with this election and how divisive, that administration's trying to be within our communities.
Well, I think that it definitely requires, I like to call them clear, courageous conversations, right? Mm-hmm. And it requires, us as Latinos embracing the fact that their anti-Blackness has been involved in our culture for a long time. Colorism has been involved in our culture for a long time. And addressing it is something that we can do, right? Likewise, we need to have a conversation with our Black siblings that, anti-immigrant sentiment or the belief of being able to support, or that, Spanish speaking in Spanish is a bad thing, or we're talking all the time, to be quite honest, is not the case. And that we don't have to fight for a piece of the pie. We can create our own pie together, and we're much stronger together than we are apart. And we need to get real. We need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and those conversations being had as well with our, Afro-Latino brothers and sisters who have to tear themselves apart,
right,
and say, or am I Black, right? Even us as trans comunidad, we have to select whether I'm Latino or trans, or Latinx or trans, or whatever word used to identify who we are. Going back to basics of connecting as human beings, and being there for each other is going to be the challenge, especially in these times where divisiveness prevails over everything else.
Absolutely. Well, luckily we have people like you who are helping bring all of our communities together and doing all the work that is so needed. And I want to thank you so much again, for being an inspiration, also for all the work you're doing, and of course for allowing us to have some of your time out of your busy schedule of all these marches that you're a part of, and all the work that you're doing to come and talk to us and to share this message, because it's so needed for our community. So I want to thank you again, Queen Victoria, for joining us today and for sharing this message with us.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for doing the work and, being a representative for our community out loud and proud. And thank you.
Thank you so much. Stay safe.
You too. Take care.
All right, that's all the time we have for today, but make sure to check out ahf.org for more information. We're here, we're queer, and we'll be here and queer again next time on The Q Agenda.